Hi, this is Michael Waits, and welcome back to Insurance for the New Possible, a Chubb conversation. Today, we are joined by Jonas Thuerig, VP APAC, Managing Partner at Tenity, and Gabriel Lazaro, Head of Digital Business, Overseas General Insurance at Chubb. Jonas, before we get started, let's get a little bit of your background for some context.
So I'm from Switzerland, grew up in Switzerland, spent now 7 years in Asia. I was in China for 3 years and now 5 years in Singapore. Previously, I also had a startup myself. I worked for the Swiss Stock Exchange, I worked for the Swiss Embassy, but now really in Singapore, enjoying that. Doing some triathlon on the side, that's how I know Gabriel.
Wait, that's how you two know each other, from triathlons?
No, we know from Tenity, but then I discovered that he was doing triathlon because it's going to be a long story, because I was after a competition that I was destroyed, and I met him on Monday.
Was that your first one?
No, it wasn't the first one, but I was destroyed. It was Monday. I was very frustrated. I was meeting Jonas for a business reason, but then he said, how are you? Oh, that happened to me. And then I realized that he told me that he's a Kona athlete and he's training here in Singapore with the HIIT. So I said, give me your coach immediately.
Right. Please, tell me how this works.
Help me.
Referral.
How can we work together on this?
So yeah, now thanks to him, now I'm in a better shape.
What's the key there, though?
I think you have to be kind of an all-around athlete, very much enjoying the pain, I would say, in a way. I think we do enjoy the grind over long distances, but I think it's a fun sport. It's very you're doing differently, basically 3 different sports in once, and we go to beautiful locations like Hawaii. So
nice.
I think not a bad sport.
So I want to give a little context to this. One of the things we're going to talk about in a minute is the convergence, right, of traditional insurers, InsurTechs, and FinTechs. And it means you have to be multidisciplinary. Is there anything, and this is for both of you, that you take from training in 3 different sports, right? Because you're running distance, you're bicycling, which is using a completely different part of your body, and then you're swimming, which has no relationship at all. But you have to be disciplined enough to do that. Is your relationship between that type of training and discipline to what you see in the convergence here?
It's a great question. I need to think like...
Please do, take your time.
No, but I think it's about talking about what you mentioned. I think it's about first principles.
Go ahead.
And he was saying, I think no matter if you are doing the 3 disciplines, you need to have consistency on the training.
Yep.
Behaving like an athlete, eating, sleeping, good habits, right? Yep. Managing data. Believe it or not. True. So how much do you sleep? What do you eat? This kind of data nowadays. The VATs on the bike. Don't share that, because I will be very, very, very frustrated. And then this, this foundational level. Then there are some specificity, right?
Yep.
I think that's kind of the analogy that I have. Foundationals is the same, and then it's kind of something specific or each one.
How about you? Do you think about this too? Because I think about sport a lot in the context of business, right? Even when I was at Morgan Stanley and Goldman Sachs, a lot of the guys and gals that we hired were great at sport. Mm-hmm. 1, for the teamwork, 2, for the discipline, and 3, because, again, you have these multiple skills and you have to know when to deploy them. Yeah. And I'm curious if you think about this as well.
Yeah, I mean, to me, what's really key, in my opinion, is like consistency. Consistency is key, especially if you're doing long distance.
For sure.
Sport. So I think it's the same in business. It's in a way a numbers game a bit as well, especially commercial roles, right? You just need to constantly get up in the morning, be out there, hit those numbers. And it's very similar in sport as well.
Yeah. Also, it's about competition.
Yeah, it's a bit of competition.
It's about being competitive. And that's in business as well, right?
But I love having these conversations with you about consistency in sport. We did this a little bit a year ago, and I remember this idea that you can't do your job part-time. You can't think about this convergence part-time. You can't be like a part-time triathlete. Oh, I'll just do this between June and December. It's like a full year thing.
Especially you're at the level of Jonas.
Right.
It's a Kona athlete, right? You need to do a Kona every day.
Yeah.
So it's not you get that level because every day you're not doing a sport. You are pushing very hard.
Right.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, blah blah blah.
Right,
Monday, Tuesday, you know,
Same, just keep going.
every day, and then you have travels, you have a birthday, holidays, blah, and you need to mix
And it's hard.
everything in between. Yeah, it's commitment. It's a commitment.
But what I really like about it as well is doing I've been a pure runner before, and I'm doing triathlon. You have 3 sports, and there's constantly something you can work on. There's constantly something you actually have to work on.
Exactly.
And something especially you need to spend money as well.
That's true. But we all have weaknesses, right? And we have to work on that as well, to get a good full-time result.
Right.
It's complicated. I think we like it because it's complicated.
Yeah.
And it's analogy for business.
That's my whole
if it
point.
were
Right?
easy, it's complicated to glue everything together, and then the heat here and everything, it's even more complicated.
Yeah, so it's different doing a triathlon in Singapore than it would be doing it in Boston.
Oh yes, it's another sport.
Yeah, it's a completely different sport.
Honestly,
Well,
it's another sport.
Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. But I mean, these are different sports too. So Jonas, tell me, what are the driving forces behind the convergence of traditional insurers, InsurTechs, and FinTechs? 3 things that from far away may look really unrelated, but at their core, I think the foundation is essentially the same. Talk to me about this convergence and what's driving it.
I'm not sure if this looks very different from afar, but I think technological advancements are just really the driving forces in our space. Whether you're a startup or an incumbent, you have a lot of technology that has been evolving incredibly fast. And I think that's really key to the convergence of all of these 3 organizations in a way. So it's of course it's AI, it's of course online, it's customer expectations of course as well. Now everything going mobile. I think me as a user, I don't care whether you're an insurance company or an InsurTech or a FinTech. I want to consume it on my mobile phone. I want to have a seamless experience. So I think these are very critical driving forces for all of us.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, completely agree with you. And it's, looking back, I think that the term fintech or these terms I think it was in the early 90s or when everything was analog.
Right.
I still remember the first time I was in US, it was 2000. I moved to US permanently in 2010. And I was in New York, and I was having to rent an apartment. Then you need to show up with a check, physical check. And I needed to YouTube how can I write a check because I didn't know it in my life, and it was on my 30s, right? But yeah, I think that at that time is this term that then technology runs everything we do, right? Even sometimes it's a commodity in many cases. If you think about the cloud computing, mobile computing, now AI, the access that we have to this any GPT as a regular user, right? It's a commodity, right? The amount of power computer that is there versus the cost and the exponential growth. So at the end, for me, is much more about the talent, the people who drives that. Yeah, the people who do it and the mission and vision that you have and the sector that you are, right? The other is, I think we are human beings and we need to create categories. I think it's good for our mental health.
Yeah.
And I'll have my psychologist hat. but as a fundamental thing, now all business are digital, technology enabled. Maybe it's a question of a scale. Is where you come from. It's about your maturity as a business, right? And we have to put some terms. But the fundamental thing is tech. I think tech is now everywhere.
Yeah, and embedded everywhere. I'll tell you a funny story. At the beginning of 2023, one of my close friends moved to New York. So 13 years after you moved there, she still had to bring a check to get her apartment. It blew me away. I mean, I haven't lived in New York since 1990. Yeah. So back then, of course, all you had was a check.
Exactly. When they went to the bank and they give me this, this paper.
What do I do with this?
What do I do with this, right?
Yeah.
And then you need to show one. Okay, where do I put my name? Yeah. Where do I put my last name?
I've never written a check.
Just need to move to New York, and then it's everything checked.
If you want to learn how that works. Yeah.
And there's a funny thing about technology, how they're doing.
Go for it.
That was 2010, but then during my period, the thing evolved, right? And now you receive also automatic checks, right?
Yeah.
For example, I don't know, there is something is getting wrong with your utility, and then the utility needs to send us some money back. Even it's cents, you get a piece of paper like a check. But then you would think I need to go to the branch. But the cool thing is to develop a mobile app that you can get that picture of the check, and then through OCR it gets into your checking accounts. But it's still the paper needs to be there.
So I got a tax return from the U.S. government. This is like 10 or 11 years ago, I think. Okay, and it was $65, and I wanted to deposit in my bank account here. I'm not going to say who the bank was. The transaction fee was $75.
Oh my God.
So I still have that check.
Yeah.
So I can't do anything with it.
Yeah.
That is definitely not digital transformation.
Right.
So back in the context of what's happening in this convergence, right? When you look at it from an investment standpoint, right? What types of innovations are emerging from this convergence? You're looking at all of these sectors, right? What types of innovations are emerging now do you think are going to keep coming because of this convergence?
I mean, we have to talk about AI, right? I think this is really the next big driver of innovation, and we're seeing this space to develop so fast. I think it has not been seen maybe since like kind of the emergence of the internet. So I really think this is going to drive not everything, but maybe 80% of the next kind of transformation of the insurance industry and banking industry. So AI is definitely key. I think there, especially in the areas of automation, it will make a huge impact. Efficiency gain, cost reductions, right? But also in terms of personalization, you can really expect a lot coming out of AI, allowing you to very much personalize down to the single individual. Then I think embedded insurance, distribution of insurance has completely changed. I just recently looked into life insurances.
For yourself?
For myself.
Right.
And I was like going online, looked at different insurance platforms, and I looked some of the comparison, and frankly it was like my situation, like being a foreigner in Singapore, it's not so straightforward.
It doesn't fit into a particular bucket,
exactly.
Right.
So I asked my insurance friend, and what did he tell me? He's like, here is my broker, meet my broker. And frankly, I really don't want to meet the broker, because I know it means there's an intermediary getting involved. She will somehow need to get paid. I don't really want to buy it off a broker. I would prefer to buy it online. So I really can see it on myself. I really want to buy it online, seamless. I don't want to have that interaction. But actually, I would like to have an advice, maybe from an AI chatbot. Actually,
Really?
Yeah, that analyzes I can just, I just put the prompt in, tell me, inform the bot what my situation is, and then boom, I want to have a result that really fits me. So I think I'm very much probably an early adopter of these technologies.
Yeah. Can I ask you this? You see anybody building that kind of stuff?
Not in particular for that use case, but I just see a lot of kind of verticalized AI solutions that allow you to, in a way, role play. For example, we have a startup called Transparently.ai. They are helping with accounting fraud detection of public companies, and basically they basically scan the accounting reports, the audit reports, public reports that companies put out there, and then you can actually now interface via a prompt, and you can say, me as an auditor, what are the areas that I need to really look into, and what could be advice that I need to give this company to improve their accounting standard.
Right.
So like very much personalizing it. Or me as an investment analyst, what are the areas I need to be careful about? Where's the risk here? Where's the opportunity? So I think that can be very much replicated. Now there is actually Pand.ai.
How do you spell it?
Pand.ai.
Pand.
It's an InsurTech startup here. You can buy insurance via chatbot in there, but not sure if they do live. Haven't actually explored yet. I need to ask
them.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk a little bit more about how this convergence helps to create personalized and customized products?
Yeah, so it's I think it's a very interesting topic, and love the use case that you mentioned. A little bit of journey, and then we move into so the way we see the market is that, I mean, the bed insurance is for right now is for the super simple products, right? So it's like you're purchasing something on an e-commerce, and then you have extended warranty or purchase protection is a no-brainer, or you're purchasing an airline from here to whatever, New York, and then you that moment you know, and that's very not taking into consideration all the personalization and data, and it's kind of one size fits all in a way, one size fits all, right? Then we have the second tier of products that are much more what you are describing that you would like to see. That is and we have examples with digital banks that we develop those products that is no question asked. We know who you are. The bank has a lot of data, so maybe with your age, it's already there, your gender, you have a product, and then you can customize in case something happens to you, how much your loved ones will get. You can name the beneficiary, and it's a very, very seamless experience. And we develop, usually we co-develop that with partners. But again, it's much more personalized, it's much more meaningful, and that's for the digital savvy customer like you. I think we are in the next phase of the evolution. I think Jonas touched base a little bit is the ultra personalization, if you want, right? That is not only that. I think there is a lot of data that we interact in our daily lives with those platforms, and with those data, I think we can create much more seamless experience, much more along your lifestyle, what you are doing, your changes in life, right? And I always like to do the analogy that now we are in I think we talked already in other episode, right? We are in the iTunes moment of the insurance. I think we need to move into the Spotify moments of insurance. And that's super cool, because then is when we, as an insurer, we have all the data, and we know customer like Thomas or Michael, they have purchased, and it's not the same, but we have information about massive presence that we have on our track record and our data, right, that we have. And then we have the partners' data, and we combine that forces with all the capabilities that Jonas mentioned, right? I think if you see forward what it could be in 5 years from now, yes, that makes me super excited about insurance, that it was not possible even imagine about that if you think 5 years ago.
Yeah, or even 2 years ago.
Even 2 years ago. Yeah.
Right. I mean, I'll let you go in a second, right? But somebody was telling us a story a few days ago, just going through their daily life. I wake up in the morning, I go take my dog for a walk, right? So I'm walking my dog, I go have brunch. On my way home from brunch, I walk all the way home, I come and I hang out on the couch. I watch like Netflix. Later in the afternoon, I do some online banking. And then at night, I go to bed.
So you're unemployed?
Saturday.
Okay.
And this was not a conversation about me. Maybe I am unemployed. It's a good joke. But the idea was that contextually, along every one of those things, there's a place. There's pet insurance. There's potential accident insurance on the way home.
Right.
There's cybersecurity insurance in the banking. All these little places, and you couldn't do that 2 or 3 years ago.
If you were a wearable, right?
Yeah.
We know your heart rate.
Yes.
We know your numerous steps. You have your data. We know, so every time you're interacting with a platform, you are putting data, and that's when really gets interesting. Not only for selling, also for servicing and claims. And I think that's going to be one of the great evolutions. It's like again, the Spotify thing is because we like it because we listen much more music than before.
Right.
Because it's much more relevant.
Yeah.
It's much more relevant, goes with me. Now in a romantic dinner with my wife, and put romantic, and I'm in a barbecue with friends, or I don't know, whatever is your mood, right? And you have this super DJ that helps you. And the end is not I have the same music that I need to discover, the same record that I'm get tired after X amount of time. So that's much more interesting and goes with me and knows me and provides me something that at the end is much more meaningful. I think that's the journey when really say, Jonas, this is not just life insurance. It's beyond that, right?
Yeah.
It's how can we help to protect you, and then your bikes, and then your travels, and then the whole thing, and also think about again the Spotify, the iTunes moment in which you have a combination of songs, and then you spend amount of money. Now you think and compress that in a way that it really creates value for something, and it can be much more based on the experience and how you evolve. I mean, that's at least maybe I'm going too far. But
No. I like it because I was thinking as you were saying it. If I search for romantic music for dinner and you do the same thing, and he does the same thing, since we're three completely different people from completely different places, and our music tastes were guided, at least informed by all of those things, that the music that would pop out would be different.
That's true.
And
Will be slightly different. Yeah,
be slightly different for
we'll
sure.
have Barry White for sure, but
Barry White, of course. Of course, everybody gets that.
but then we have a slightly different. Yeah,
Right. You were going to say something.
Yeah, just what I really want to add is like in terms of what has really changed in the last 2 years or so since OpenAI's kind of the ChatGPT moment is, in my opinion, is contextualization. What's really amazing of this new form of AI is just the context that you can incorporate.
How so?
Because it will, that's what I was like for previously saying, like you really get recommended information based on your personality, based on your context, based on where you are, right?
And so you tell the model, I'm this age, I'm this
it should know
gender.
that automatically because
If it doesn't,
mobile, right?
Like
it have access to your mobile phone, it has access to your location, it has access to it obviously you can access a lot through being tapped into your mobile phone and having access to a few different partnerships that job has. It gives a lot more context, hence a lot more contextualized, personalized information.
So I want to give you a perfect example of this.
Yeah.
Because today I was with Martin and we were talking about, I'm not kidding, canapé, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is a thing you have in your hand, you eat it and you maybe drink a little bit of wine or champagne with it. So we said, let's search, because Martin was like, that's not what that means. Canapé in French means couch.
Are you kidding me?
No, I'm not. That's what he said.
That's true.
Okay.
Yeah.
But wait. So what we did was we sat down next to each other on the couch and we searched for it on our phones. My phone's native language is English. His is French.
All right.
So the first thing that popped up on my phone was just a list of couches with some food in the middle and a list of food.
Yeah.
And then maybe one couch in the middle and all food after that. And he searched, he goes, look, couch. But that's deep personalization in the way that you were talking about, because it was based on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
They know he's French,
but
he's in Singapore.
Mm-hmm.
So what does he really want to find? So it's actually happening. So I just wanted to give you that one example. Did you want to continue?
No, I think that's the main add-on I wanted to make.
So talk to me about how, with the blending of all these things together and all of these emerging technologies, this idea of an ecosystem approach to business and to innovation.
So at Tenety, we are in a way an ecosystem ourselves with corporates. We are a VC. We work with startups, and the reality is like innovation can come from anywhere. It comes, of course, often from startups. It can come within the organization. I'm sure you have a lot of very bright people at job. It can come from academia. It can come from your customers because they need something. Hence, you will develop a new product that will become like a banger. So we really believe in the ecosystem approach, and I personally also believe really in the compounding effect by being part of an ecosystem. Like you guys, and speaking about it, right? You really put the word out. It will really just generate more and more interesting ideas coming back into your ecosystem and towards your organization.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I couldn't agree more on that.
Are you seeing the leverage inside of your own ecosystem? Because most investors, venture capitalists, let's say, right, start as a VC firm. Most accelerators start as accelerators, right? And there's one other thing that you guys do, right? You also teach a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Right? But most of those things start separately. Do you see that leverage getting created inside of there, and you see more innovation coming out and more synergies between those things happening?
Yeah, definitely. So we are, you're right, we started as an incubator with corporate partnerships, bringing those together.
Right.
Since we launched our own fund and invest into startups, I can really see that the quality of startups coming into our ecosystem is even improving.
Because there's money available.
Because there's money.
There's a potential, right? Like if you incubate stuff, that's fine.
Yeah.
But if at the end of that incubation, you're like, you guys are great.
Yeah.
Here's some investment. Sorry, go ahead.
Exactly. So that's definitely making a difference. But then equally, if you have very strong brands that are part of your ecosystem, that really also attracts a great amount of startups. And vice versa, if you have a unicorn in your ecosystem that does really well, people will be like, oh, who's Tenety? I should look into that. So I think it's like, it's really kind of a reinforcing circle. Yeah. And we have to just, if we're good in the different parts, it will just keep attracting great talent.
What do you see, or what do you think about working with smaller startup companies? Like, what are some of the challenges there? Is it a time frame thing? Is it a maybe they're going to fail thing? Like, what are some of the challenges you see there?
No, we are super. At the end, we are a partner-driven company. We partner with a small companies and with large corporations. So we are not at all restricted to that.
Right.
Technology-wise as well, right? So we work with large tech companies and with not so large companies, but they have a strategic product or a product that resonates in what we would like to do, and we cannot build, and we use that
right.
that as well. What I have seen in the InsurTech, trying to narrow a little bit from what is much more closer to what we're doing, the InsurTech sector, is several cycles, right? I think the first one was online aggregators in the 90s, 2000s, especially in Europe, when they started, and it was car insurance, seeking for price. I think right. There was already aggregators in other sectors and insurance, and in some markets really still really commoditize the value. Then it was around 2015, something like that, is when the direct to consumer, especially in US, have direct to consumer and some digital brokers, much more in Southeast Asia and in Latin America came. It was the big, we're going to disrupt. Basically, that was the kind of the message. If you look forward, you look like that promise so far hasn't happened. And now we are I will say, in a moment when it's much more, I would say, collaborative approach between InsurTech or startups, if you want to call it, and incumbents like Chubb, when I think we can space to complement each other, right? I don't believe in some zero games no matter what, but this is I think this is a scenario that we are, and there are interesting propositions that we always look carefully.
Yeah, I don't think that disruption is never going to happen in my mind. It was fun to talk about 10 years ago, but it's not going to happen. Can I ask you as well, from your perspective, you're also dealing with corporates, right? What is some of the feedback you get from them on maybe a slightly bigger scale about dealing with early stage companies, which is where most of your investments are?
Since we started, that kind of corporates were core to us as well as the startups, and we always believed in more like a collaboration than full disruption. And also we are working in a highly regulated space, and you cannot, it's very hard to just disrupt, right? But I think there's so much potential for collaboration. But I think, of course, there are also challenges. And I think what I'm seeing and how challenges can be addressed, I think it's culturally, right? Like 10 years ago, it was very new to FinTech, InsurTech. Like, people didn't really know how to collaborate. So there was a big misfit. And we really need to find like champions within the organization. I think this has really developed over time, but we're still facing that. I think that's still a challenge. I think speed is still an issue as a startup. You have 6 months runway, and for a corporate, maybe you need 6 months to evaluate the startup, right? It's super important you have clear timelines, communicate timelines clearly, right? So that because also inexperienced founders, I see sometimes they have the initial meeting, and even before the meeting, they would tell me that they're closing a deal.
Right.
It's
we're going to close this one tomorrow. You're like, no, you're not.
So it's really important to have that. I think for quite some time there was, of course, legacy system challenges that just made it very difficult to collaborate. I think now we have API integrations, middleware that's there. I think that has really improved a lot as well.
Yeah. Yes, that's right.
Yeah. Okay. Got it. Before we end, maybe we can talk a little bit about trends, if that's okay. What are some of the emerging trends? Because you see all this stuff coming in its earliest stages, right? So, and these companies generally take between 4 and 7 years to develop.
Right.
Right. So what are some of these FinTech and insurance that could change the future of finance that you're seeing?
I need to repeat, right? AI is right now the big transformer, and I think it's a lot in the space of automation. We have a startup called Staple. They are in the data extraction and data processing space, and they really automate a lot of processes, whether it is a kind of onboarding KYC or whether it's actually detecting anomalies among policies. They can do, basically process 50 million documents per day to detect are there any anomalies within the policy. So these kind of use cases, I think it's incredible, and this will really help you to one, stay compliant, and two, be very efficient in those spaces. So I think, and we just get started. They are really greatly verticalized startups in specific areas. Maybe one more I want to mention is,
Please.
For example, voice AI. That there's a number of startups right now that are developing basically a system that allows you to detect whether someone's, for example, lying, or whether about the claim.
Right. Yeah.
Or also deep fake, right? Like some people claim to be someone, but they are not. So
Right.
they are in the cybersecurity space linked to AI. There's a lot of developments happening right now. And I think it's amazing. There is a ton coming out of there. But personally, I'm also excited about wearables. For example, we're Whoop Apple, right? There's still so much that we can learn about health, about well-being. In that area, I believe we have some great companies already in the market, but I think there's still yet so much more to come. Also linked with research and academia, I think there's a lot coming out. Blockchain is another technology that has been around. Like a lot of people talking about it.
Now.
This week, it seems like it's everywhere because Token 2049 is happening. But I believe there, it can be linked to AI in the sense that, for example, smart contracts, you can program those contracts automatically to claims payout through via the blockchain, maybe linked to a parametric insurance that will detect that there was a drought somewhere or a flood, and automatically claims are then paid out. So I think there is a lot of potential, but I think the biggest potential by far is going to be AI.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, we have this parametric insurance with weather related here in Singapore.
Right.
Yeah.
That is, if you hit some levels, then we give you automatically a compensation, so that you can take a Grab and and you don't need to work. So that's super cool.
Yeah.
Talking about trends I think it's hard, and I love it. Don't get me wrong. I like the Mara's law. That I think it said that we human beings we overestimate the impact in the short term, but underestimate the impact in the long term.
Absolutely.
And I think we are in that moment.
I
I think it's so hard to imagine, right? We all live the smartphone phenomenon, and
Right.
we wouldn't think about Uber, Airbnb, Grab, TikTok, just to give some names about the experience that we are having daily. That has transformed everything. I think I was yesterday in my evening, right, doing a prep call. I have the podcast with Jonas, and I was taking a look at the numbers. I was taking a look at the numbers of investment in last year. I can see CV Insight, just to give you a sense of size. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe you know better. But it was in FinTech last year, it was $50 billion. And it has decreased versus 2022, right? But
Still a big number.
But it's a big number. InsurTech is 5, so it's that. But the investment in AI has been $200 billion. $200 billion. Half of that is going for 5 companies.
Right.
Big names.
And we all know their names.
Their names, right? So and that's a lot of money that is put in there. So that we don't know. Honestly, I think we don't know.
No, we don't know.
We don't know. Even we are on the front lines of what we do. And that's where we need to be very, very. That is a great moment. It's a super exciting moment to be in any sector, right? To be in any sector. If you have the luxury to be in the front seat, but we need to be vigilant. We need to be open. We need to really understand that we are in a moment of change, and it's about agility. It's about adaptation. It's about innovation and it's about the fundamentals of the business. That's the important thing, right? About thinking about your customers, thinking about the key two things, and then technology, what is coming, is an enable to help you to do things better, faster, and hopefully cheaper.
I like it. It. Jonas Thuerig, VP APAC, Managing Partner at Tenity. Gabriel Lazaro, Head of Digital Business, oversees General Insurance at Chubb. Thank you both so much for doing this. You were both amazing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.